This whole segment is devoted to washers, and there are a lot of options that you have for washers that can help improve the strength of a wheel. I think we can say that the uses of washers are either under the head of the spoke or between the nipple and the rim, and I'll show you some examples of each. We'll look first at a situation of using a washer under the head of the spoke. Now what we see here is a nice White Industries hub and a flanged thickness, which I've measured with my Mitutoyo caliper, and I get looks like 3.31 millimeters. That's a sort of average, reasonably thick hub flange. If I put a spoke in the hub flange, you see that I get a pretty good fit of the spoke and the head of the spoke and the elbow of the spoke into the hub flange. In comparison, this is an older type of hub with a steel flange, and these hubs have narrow flanges. Here I'm only measuring with my caliper 2.32 millimeters. And that is going to give me a poor fit of the spoke into the hub because there's too much play around the head of the spoke. That's what these little washers here are designed to solve. They're only about a half a millimeter thick. They're brass. Brass is a soft metal, and these will mold themselves to the empty space, that gap that I just showed you, and it will fill in the gap quite nicely. You can get these washers from either DT Swiss or Sapim, and probably other manufacturers too. They're extremely inexpensive. They weigh about 0.2 of a gram each, so 64 of these washers is a negligible 12 grams, so you can basically forget about the weight of them. Use these washers if they will fit into the space that is created between the head of the nipple and the flange, that space that I showed you a minute ago where there was a little bit of play. If you can use these little washers to take that play out, go ahead and do it. But on many modern hubs, in fact probably most of them, you'll find that I think the washer will not fit. In the case of this White Industries hub, the washer doesn't fit because the combination of the washer and the wider flange is too great, and the spoke cannot straighten out without bending. Whereas here with this older, thinner flange hub, the combination of the washer and the spoke works beautifully. I think you're likely to find that older steel flange hubs or other hubs that have a flange thickness of less than 3 millimeters are the ones that might work with these washers. Now the other place I can use a washer is between the nipple and the rim, and here there are two main purposes. One is to add strength to a weak rim that cannot sustain the high spoke tension needed to make a strong wheel, and the washer will help spread out the load a little bit. And the second purpose is to reduce friction between the nipple and the rim. Let's look first at using a washer to add strength to a weak rim that cannot sustain the high spoke tension needed to make a strong wheel. Here we see a short section of a pretty weak single-walled rim, and when we put a spoke in it, it looks like that. You can see that there's no support really to speak of for that nipple. But if I take one of these nice oval washers, I can put that under that nipple, and that's going to help me spread the load out quite a bit. Unfortunately, that really nice oval washer is too big to fit through the holes, the outer holes in the rim in nearly all cases. This is another type of Sapim washer that is useful in this situation. These will fit through the hole in the outer wall, and they're thin enough, about a half a millimeter, that they will mold themselves to the inside of the spoke bed. Now you want to make sure that you use thin washers. Don't just go to a hardware store and buy something that has about the same dimensions but might be too thick to mold itself to the shape of the rim. Just to make sure we don't get any confusion here, The nipples on the right that I'm talking about are not the same as the ones on the left that go under the head of the spoke. The ones on the right go under the nipple. Reducing friction between the nipple and the rim is another use of a washer. Brass is a soft metal, and if a rim does not have eyelets, then the sharp edges around the aluminum rim holes can score and damage a brass or an aluminum nipple. And this combination here of washer and spoke nipple work quite well. The nipple shown here is a Sapim polyaxial SILS, which stands for Self-Integrated Locking System nipple by Sapim, or the newer Secure Lock nipple. Notice the curvature of the underside of the head of the nipple. It fits perfectly into that nipple washer. Ideal curvature matching, and that provides a very nice system so that the nipple is turning inside the washer and not directly contacting the aluminum in the rim. Because again, in the rim we have some sharp edges around the rim hole. And the washer will protect the nipple from being scored. Here you see a perfect congruent fit of the curvature of the nipple with the curvature of the washer. This little washer works very well also to add strength to a otherwise somewhat weak rim when the large oval washers I showed you earlier don't fit through the outer holes. These will.